Hello and welcome to my channel Biology Tutorial by NHJ. I welcome you everyone. I hope you all are well, good in your homes. So we are to begin our today's tutorial. In this tutorial we are going to study Unit 1 Systematics. In this unit we are going to study non-coded animal, their silent features, and classification up to class with example in SYBAC and up to order in with example in TYPAC. And also we are going to study structural organization in different phylum with their respective example. Now what is a non-coded animal? Non-coded animal are those animal who do not possess notochord in their structure. Here we are going with the phylums. There are 10 phylums which we are studying in our syllabus. First one is Protozoa. It includes very primitive type of animal. Second one is Porifera. It includes some porous bodied animal and generally find in water bodies. Third one is Coelenterata, or the improved name with Cnidaria. The animals are soft bodied and found in water bodies. Fourth one is Platyhelminthes phylum. It contains flatworms. Fifth one is Aschelminthes phylum. It contains roundworms. Sixth one is Annelida. It contains metamerically segmented animal. Seventh one is Arthropoda phylum. It contains many various insects like butterflies, spiders, scorpions. They are all with jointed legs. Seventh one is Mollusca phylum with soft-bodied animal. Then Echinodermata phylum, which exclusively marine phylum, and Echinus and the spines on their body. And the last but not least, Hemichordata phylum, also exclusive to marine. And in another paper in another semester you will study about chordata. Now what is the chordata? Chordata is the animal who bears the notochord, nerve cord and pharyngeal girdles in their structure. Now we are going to give some basic introduction about the unit. Animal kingdom is very arranged and very systematically formed. For a systematic study of animal, different animals are divided into minor and major groups. The minor groups we are not studying in the syllabus. The major phylum we are studying in syllabus. In previous slide I explained all the major phylums on the basis of their similarities and dissimilarities which they have, and each group is given a particular name depending upon their characteristic. Every organism, each group give a particular name depend on which they have characteristic. Huge numbers of animals live on the earth today, and many more had lived here in the past. These animals diverge in their shape and size. These animals shows great diversity and great difference in their shape and size, their habit and habitat, their coloration, their form and weight, as well as in their distribution. Animals shows great diversity not only in shape and size but also in their species, numbers and habitat. Animals shows not great diversity not only in their shape and size but also they show diversity in their species numbers and species habitat. The animals inhibiting every kind of habitat, starting from deep oceans to snow-covered mountain peaks, from the poles of Earth to the equator. The animals inhabit all the places. The animals are found everywhere. Now we are discussing about number of animals on the planet Earth. There are 14.8% microorganisms present on the Earth. There are 4% plant and algae. There are 0.4% vertebrates and more than 80% of invertebrates on the planet Earth. Invertebrates play a crucial role in the survival of other living organisms. These are involved in keeping the environment active and provide us with rich soil, clean water, and food. Invertebrates play a crucial role in the survival of other living organisms and non-living. It is connected with living organism and also the non-living organism in the environment, and they give us a good environment, active environment, provides at which rich with rich soil, clean water, and food. Now we are further discussing about diversity in the living world. There are great diversity shows in the living world. As we know, living organism as well as non-living organism on the planet Earth. So what? The specific and exclusive characteristic of the living organism, and what are the specific and exclusive characteristic of non-living organism? Living organism specific characteristic is growth, reproduction, respond to stimuli, movement, locomotion, and metabolism. And non-living organisms, they do not grow, they do not reproduce, they do not respond to stimuli, they do not move, they do not locomote, and they do not metabolize. In growth, animals or any organism that is living, it is so the growth by increasing in size, by increasing in mass, and by increasing in number of cells. Second one is reproduction. Any living organism is so reproduction. By the production of new generation, living organisms show reproduction. It can be simplest to complicated, but there is one exception, like infertility and sterility. Some organisms, they do not reproduce. It is not mean that it is not living. It is a living one, but sterility is there, infertility is there, so they do not reproduce. Third one is respond to stimuli. Awareness of surrounding. Any organism they have in conscious or non-conscious, they have some awareness of the surrounding environment. Any animals show the movement, the movement of their hands, movement of podia, movement of legs, movement of eyes. They show the living organism. Fifth one is locomotion. They are locomoted. And the sixth one is metabolic activity or metabolism. Various metabolic activity performed into the cells, like physiological activity, like reproductive activity, breakdown into smaller molecule from the bigger molecule, the excretion activity, the breathe activity. These are all metabolic activity for energy production, fat formation, protein synthesis, DNA and RNA replication. These all are metabolic activity and performed by only the living organism. So we can say that metabolism, growth, and reproduction, respond to stimuli is the exclusive character of living organism. These are some characteristic of living organism, and they show great diversity in the world. Now after these, there are some questions arise into the minds. What is taxonomy? What is systematics? What is taxonomic categories? What is habit and what is habitat? What is nomenclature? What is classification? And why we need classification? Why we need classification? There are some terminologies we have to understand. First one is taxonomy. Now, what is taxonomy? The term given by the scientist Kendall. It is a branch of biology that deals with identification, nomenclature, and classification of any organism. Taxonomy. Second one is systematics, the term given by the scientist Linnaeus in his book Systema Nature. Taxonomy, the systematics term deals with the taxonomy and evolutionary relationships. evolutionary the relationship. The systematics is taxonomy, means identify the creature, nomenclature, name them, nomenclature, name them, classify them, and the evolutionary relationships between them. Linnaeus is also known as the father of modern taxonomy. He is also gave some taxa like genus, species, class, order, variety, some newly added taxa like kingdom, phylum, family. These are newly added taxa. Further, we are discussing on taxonomic categories. Now, what is taxonomic categories? It is commonly called a level. In simple language, it is commonly called a level, or in technical language, we can call it taxon. Taxonomic categories facilitate us to give taxonomic hierarchy, and the taxonomic hierarchy is: first one is kingdom, second one is phylum or division, third one is class, fourth one is order, fifth one is family, sixth one is genus, and seventh one is family. There are seven main taxa that give us facility to arrange and to classify to nomenclature, to identify the organism in these seven manner. In seventh one, species is very much closely related species and the smallest diversified group, and when kingdom is most diversified group and the largest group. Many similar species including in one genus, many similar genus is including in one family, many families including in one order, many similar order includes in class, many classes includes in phylums or division, and many phylums includes in kingdom. So taxonomic categories facilitates us to arrange and to classify the any genus to ascending or descending order. Now further terminologies like habit and habitat. The organism, when the animal is live, grow and reproduce and interacting with their ecosystem, it is commonly called habit and habitat. Now nomenclature, give the name of them. To give the worldwide approved scientific name to any organism, it is collectively called nomenclature. International Code for Universal Nomenclature, it gives botanical name, International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. It gives International Code for the Zoological Nomenclature to give zoological name, and to give International Code for Botanical name to give botanical name, International Code for Zoological Nomenclature, it gives zoological name. It is further divided into three subcategories: mononomial nomenclature, binomial nomenclature, and trinomial nomenclature. Mononomial nomenclature deals with only one name, binomial nomenclature deals with two names, and trinomial nomenclature deals with the three names. Now, what is classification? The arrangement of organism on the basis of their similarities and differences into the specified taxon like phylum, order, family, genus, group, etc. So the classification is arrangement of organism on the basis of which characters, which similarities and which dissimilarities they have. Now, why we need classification? Classification allows us to understand the great diversity which animals house. It facilitates the identification of organism. It helps to establishment the relationship among various groups of organism. It helps to study the phylogeny and evolutionary history of organism. So these are the reason and study purposes of why we need classification. Classification allows us to understand diversity later. It helps in the identification of any living organism as well as in understanding the diversity of living organism. Classification helps us to learn about different kinds of plants and animals, their features, similarities, differences, and phylogeny and evolutionary history of any organism. In next slide, after these, Before we are starting the classification, let's know about the historical background of classification, where it actually come from, who give the first classification, and which classification we are widely using nowadays. First classification is given by Aristotle and Plato, the old systematics, and Aristotle was widely accepted by Linnaeus. In this system, purely morphological definition of species was employed. Species are known by a single or few specimen only. Aristotle gave a two-kingdom classification. First one is plant and second kingdom is animal. Plant is further divided into three: tree, shrubs, and herbs on the basis of their sizes, and the animal kingdom further divided into two on the basis of with red blood cells and without it. Aristotle gave this two kingdom classification. It is widely accepted by Linnaeus also. Linnaeus also gave this two kingdom classification, plant and animal. Plant includes all the plants on earth, animal include all the animals on the earth. But there are some limitations like euglena like animal where they are placed. The euglena is autotroph, so placed in plant. But the limitation of euglena is they do not possess a cell wall. It is animal character, and where the euglena is placed, and also the fungi. Also some fungi like saprophytes were there placed. Then third scientist came Ernest Haeckel. They give the three kingdom classification: Protista, plant, and unicellular. In Protista, they placed unicellular euglena like animal. In plants, they are all the plants. In animal, they give all the animal. Where some limitation, where the saprophyte like fungi are placed. Then fourth scientist is come then Copland give the classification of a four kingdom classification. The newly added kingdom is Monera, Protista, plant and animal. In Monera, Copland include prokaryotic cells. In Protista, he include unicellular eukaryotic organism. In plant, all the autotrophs, and in animal, all the animals heterotrophs. Again, where the fungi is placed. Then Whitaker is come. He gave the five kingdom classification, newly added fungi. The first one is Monera, second one is Protista, third one is fungi, fourth one is plant, and fifth one is animal. In Monera, he include unicellular prokaryotes. In Protista, he include unicellular eukaryotes. In fungi, all the saprophytes are includes. In plant, all the plants or autotrophs he is including. And in animalia, all the heterotroph animal he is including. Sixth scientists come whose classification he gave the six kingdom classification. The newly added two kingdom, Archaebacteria and Eubacteria, and four are the Protista, fungi, plantae, and animalia. Sorry. In Whitaker's classification, Monera is subdivided into Archaebacteria and Eubacteria. Archaebacteria includes all the Archaebacteria, and Eubacteria includes all the Eubacteria. So nowadays we are using Whitaker's classification worldwide. So now we jump on the nomenclature. Why we need nomenclature? In simple language, to give any name to any animal, it is called nomenclature. To classify any animal, it is required first. There are two types of name: common or vernacular name, or scientific name. The well-known animals are known by different names in different countries and language of the world. An organism may be known popularly by different local names in different parts of country. This creates a great problem in the study of an organism because a man of other place or language cannot understand about that organism. The easiest solution to such problem was only to assign a scientific name for animals, so that can be studied without difficulties throughout the world. To identify them, we have to name them and arrange in a proper taxa. International Code for Universal Nomenclature gives facilities to us give scientific name to any plant and any animal. To give scientific name for plant, we have International Code for Botanical Nomenclature, and give the zoological name, or give the animal scientific name, we have International Code for Zoological Nomenclature. There are further subdivisions: mononomial nomenclature, binomial nomenclature, and trinomial nomenclature. Mononomial nomenclature deals with one name like group, taxa, and phylum. To allot one word name in classification is called mononomial nomenclature. While writing the name or names of taxa or super specific groups, mononomial nomenclature is used. Example: name of family, name of order, name of class, name of phylum, etc. Second one is binomial nomenclature. The binomial matlab means two. Binomial nomenclature, it deals with two names. First name is genus and second name is a species. The system of writing scientific name of the organism adopted by Linnaeus is called binomial nomenclature. The Linnaeus give the binomial nomenclature. He gives system of writing the name of organism in two words. The first word of the name belongs to the genus, and the other word belongs to that species, plant or animal, is called species. According to the binomial nomenclature, the very popular housefly named as Musca domestica and a lion is Panthera leo. Now trinomial nomenclature gives the three names. First one is genus, second one is species, and the third one is a subspecies. There are several organisms which have subspecies. The name of their subspecies is written after the name of their genus and the specific and the species. These subspecies occur in different regions and have different characteristics. Therefore, the system of writing a name in three words is known as trinomial nomenclature. According to this, Indian lion is called as Panthera leo persia, the African lion is called as Panthera leo leo, and the modern man is Homo sapiens sapiens. Now, rules of the scientific nomenclature. While writing the scientific name, it is important to follow certain rules, certain international rules, which are as follows. The scientific name should be written in italics, and when it is handwritten, it should be underlined. Example: Panthera leo, it is typed name, so we are using italics, and the Panthera leo is handwritten, so we are underlined it. The generic name starts with the capital letter while the species name starts with the small letter. Example: Homo sapiens sapiens. Now Homo is a genera name or genus name. H is a capital, and now sapiens. Sapiens is a species name, so starts with the always a small letter. Name should be in Latin language. Why in Latin language? Because Latin language is now a dead language. Now, not in dead language means not in the use. So any further modification is in name is limited. So we are using the name we are given to any organism. It should be in Latin language. In case of different scientists have named the same genus or species differently, the name first published is accepted. For understanding these things, two scientists work on the same species. They both give the same genus or species, the name differently. So for the further exceptions, the name first published, the name was first published is widely accepted. A family name is formed by suffix ed, like Arenidae, Felidae, Falcidae, to the name of the genus, and the name of a subfamily by suffix ni, Areni, etc. So today's tutorial is end up here. Now any question you can ask me in the comment box. Thank you. In the next tutorial, we are starting the classification of animal kingdom, the diversity in animal kingdom, and on which similarities and dissimilarities they are classified. Thank you. Stay home, stay safe.